And now over to the next topic. I introduce Om Malviya from Tezos, India. Om, over to you. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, such a great talk it was. I'm going to talk a little bit about the crypto aspect of the game with this new Web3 and gaming. There are so many terms, there are terms called crypto economics, there are terms called GameFi and all kinds of stuff. So I've been in this space for last 7 years. I've seen, observed a lot of things, emerging of the entire DeFi. I've been a user, maybe not a builder of a game. I've played a lot of games. So I'm going to share my insight based on the experiences that I've had. And we are going to talk about what works, what doesn't, and how we can see this space. My background is I'm a software engineer. I've started 3 startups, crypto media publication, one blockchain development studio, and one is Tezos India, which Tezos ecosystem adoption entity. I've been doing this for the last 7 years, and all of them are running in a more or less sustainable way. So when we talk about crypto economics, there is something what we call Web2 games, right? And there is Web3 games where you have this notion of open markets, open marketplace, interoperability. You can transfer your assets to a different game and play around that. I sort of call it as the Web2 game segment pay-to-play, where you have to have recurring purchases. You have to keep buying items. And as it was mentioned in previous talk, $74 billion went to corporations in 2020, right? So you keep buying items, or sometimes you have to do one-time payments, right? Mostly do torrents, college students. And what you do is either you work hard, I mean, you have to develop your skill set, or you can just also buy rare items, right? Either you earn them or you just buy them. I'm going to loop all of this. And the important aspect of this, the current game is the gameplay matters. The overall game experience matters a lot. And that's very important thing to keep in mind when you're even building your Web3 games, or you're building games for this new economy. You cannot compromise with the experience, the gameplay overall, right? One other thing you can pick from this is sustainable community building matter, right? We see a lot of these in crypto mainly, it happens. Communities are built on this false notion of token prices going up, right? That's not a healthy and sustainable approach if you want to take for a game. You should approach the game on the same way how we would do in a Web2, best gameplay, aligning incentives for everyone, and that should matter. There is no shortcut. We see, when I talk to a lot of people, we see this trend that a lot of people are moving to Web3 because there might be some shortcut that, hey, there is, this token, we could do a DAO, we could do a governance, and people might, we might be able to lure people, a lot of users in by giving them this notion that, if you play this game, you'll earn, and the token price will go up, and you'll all be happy ending, right? That doesn't work. So the pay-to-play that we are seeing right now, it's primarily Web2, and the big difference is big difference that Web3 and Web2 is Web3 enables ownership, publicly verifiable ownership. So even let's say a game says that we are going to have only 21 items of this rare artifact. There is no way to verify that, right? And that's what actually happened with Vitalik Buterin. The game he was playing, suddenly his data was deleted, and he started Ethereum, right? So that could happen. But here in Web3, you could go and publicly verify the ownership and scarcity and the rarity of all the items that are being shown in the game, right? And there is also an earn aspect to right now, the pay-to-play scenario that we have. We see a lot of tournaments going on of PUBG, and there are even guilds that are doing that in Web2 space, like Team Vitality, etc. And the earn part is, let's say two teams are having a battle, and they both put, let's say, $300 in. Whoever wins gets $500, and $100 goes to the organization. That's as simple as that, right? That's what we can start the gaming economy notion. We can build the gaming economy notion out. Even two people are playing, let's say, I'm organizing a game between two people. They are playing stone, paper, scissors, right? Rock, paper, scissors, and $10 this guy puts, $10 this guy puts. I take $1 of organization fee, and whoever wins get $9. So these are very simple aspects. These are fundamentals to it. Now, you cannot say that we three people who are paying this game, and I come and say, you know what? You put $10, and whoever wins, he gets 10 Ohm coin, right? That's not the way it should work. Games are primarily, the currency should have value, and it should remain, it should hold value for a certain, for its life cycle. Now, what happens in this scenario, pay-to-play, is a lot of gamers who are playing these games, they're putting all their hard work, their skill set, and this entire thing creates value of assets, right? There could be value of a certain weapon in a certain game. And that's how, if assets starts accruing value, they need to make this pay-to-play segment efficient. These assets need trading, right? And trading needs liquidity, right? You cannot have efficient markets without liquidity. And again, liquidity needs asset. So asset creation is important, right? And that value accrual to the asset can only be defined by good fundamentals, right? You have to have good fundamentals. Second thing is what Web3 enables is open markets, right? That enables more liquidity, and that enables more trading, and it creates sort of a ecosystem where everybody can easily get into, start buying the assets, whatever they need, and use it in some games. Second thing that can be made efficient is cross-game composability. We can also call it sort of interoperability, that also enables more liquidity and efficient markets. So we are talking about liquidity, right? So that's what Web3 enables. It puts this sort of economic angle to it and make the markets more efficient. But in all of this, tooling is very essential. I mean, as a crypto community, we ourselves sometimes think that, okay, tooling is mature. It's not. We're still not in that point where we can say we have sufficient tooling on which we can build anything that we want. We can build for next billion users. Even if we talk about Ethereum or any kind of blockchain, we still need tooling to grow, right? And we also need a dedicated sort of tooling for gaming, like how tooling has matured, not perfect, but has matured in the DeFi ecosystem where anybody can deploy their AMM by just 3 or 4 commands. There are specific frameworks for certain things. In similar manner, the tooling has to be matured as well. So we are still a little bit early on that. And the other aspect that I'm going to talk a little bit about is inflation-driven incentivization. We have seen this happening for last 6 years since the ICO craze started. But still, somehow, we see a lot of examples where people would just keep giving high token rewards to incentivize the users. And whenever there are some market fluctuation, they just try to manage that with giving more tokens, which ends up in going into downward spiral, where your users are motivated by token price itself. So you also lose your users, and you also lose the economy that you are trying to build based on the token. So what is play to earn, this new segment that we have? It's essentially GameFi, where you have to get the economics right. Given you got your game right? So like in last talk, there were discussions about how to build your game mechanics, game experience, and all these things. Given you have got that right, your storyline, all the gaming mechanism, then you can, there is no process that when you should start thinking about it, but you should always keep both of these things in parallel. That how this economic part and the game part is going to work out, right? But even if you build an amazing game, amazing gameplay, a lot of users are addicted to it, but if you have not got the economics right, if it's, let's say, largely inflation-driven, then it's going to, go down after a while. So in last 6 years, we can take certain elements from the crypto industry overall, or crypto application, that what works and what doesn't. So what doesn't work is inflation-based incentivization, that you go and say, there's this very famous term called APR, right? Now, important to understand APR largely in token-based, the term is based on dollar value of underlying token, right? So if the dollar value of token goes down, the APR will go down. And then a lot of projects, almost all of it, try to adjust that by increasing the token rewards. And if we see markets, right, how it's happening right now, this did happen a year ago when we did say, this entire DeFi wave came and a million APR, 10,000% APR, right? It was going to end at one point of time. And we are seeing that ending right now, right? Because what works in sort of bull market doesn't have to necessarily work in bear market. It's when what you could say, when markets are fluctuating, then you get to test your thesis on which you have built your project upon. And then second thing that's very important is fee generation or marketplace sales. That should be incentivized, right? Even right now we see in the AMM space or where a lot of there is an incentive for liquidity, even though that liquidity is doing nothing. If you are incentivizing $1 billion worth liquidity and there is no trading volume, then the fee that you generate by trading volume, that's the sustainable thing that is going to be handy over a period of time, right? The incentivization part is just a temporary. So you should focus on how you should, even if you're trying to incentivize what makes the platform or the project sustainable, what incentivize fee generation. What doesn't work also is in-app currency. Sometimes, because lately we are seeing the example of BAYC, Board Ape Yacht Club, where they have ApeCoin. They are trying to make it work. But that doesn't have to be true. We have seen more examples where in-app currency doesn't work, and very few, I mean, we can count on fingers where it is supposedly work, and we haven't seen it yet. It's only like a year old, right? So its space is still very early. Based on just 1 year or 1.5 years, we cannot say that, okay, this thesis is going to work. So again, as I said, you cannot get away with basic economic principles, right? You have to maintain that. Even we have seen this meme like token price falling down and there's this sticker staking, right? That meme. So that's how the state of the industry is. And if you look at the successful projects like MakerDAO and all, what you would find essentially is if you build even a DeFi or economic part based on the fundamental economic principle, only then it's supposed to work, right? Second, yeah, this is the most important point. Don't write inefficient contracts. When you're building your game, we have seen blockchains going down, spamming the network. Even if somebody says we are unbreakable, that's not true, right? Even the blockchain space itself, the blockchain itself are in early stages. There's still a lot of R&D is being done. They're still not able to handle $1 billion, all the population of the Earth, right? So it should be very important that you write efficient contract. You optimize your contract and make sure it doesn't end up spamming the network or doing anything, because that's going to hurt a lot of DeFi users then. And second thing is, as a project, what I've seen a lot of startups is don't make decision based purely to support the token price, right? It's very lucrative when you get into this, when Web2 startups or projects get into this space, this entire idea and notion of token sometimes can affect the decision-making process, right? So I'm going to take a little bit, just an example of a game that I've been using on Tezos. So I'm, primarily from the Tezos blockchain, and going to talk a little bit about that. It's a game called Tezostopia. What I have done is, it's basically an NFT strategy game where you have few limited resources, like Uno, which is they call, where it's a very limited 100K supply. They have 3% of all the market sales goes to whoever holds the stakers, and that is not inflation driven. So it's not like, hey, if you stake, we'll give you more token. That doesn't work, right? what works is you can basically democratize the marketplace. If you want to do your token, you can do the revenue split, whatever you're earning with your token holders. That works, right? In that game, you become a landowner or warlord. You can have your robots, you can have your blocks. And it's also important that you not keep everything limited because you also have to scale, right? So you have to have some high supply assets which can enable the onboarding of new users, such as what that game does is battle units and building blocks, the lands, which are high supply, and they are limited resources or rare artifacts, which enables the gameplay, which enables your, how much XP you have, how much health points you have, up to what extent you can do adjustment in your gameplay. And primarily, it's a battle game. User earn through winning battle, which lets them collect rare artifacts, and with limited supply. So basically, how we see this Clash of Clans and Counter-Strike offline tournaments being held in colleges or festival, how that works, just bringing them into a gameplay. They're launching the battle soon. You can check them out. So yeah, that was more about the crypto economics part of the game, what I have learned, what I have observed. I'm from Tezos India. Tezos India is a non-profit entity, and we are supporting all the builders out there. Tezos is a blockchain designed to evolve. It's security focused. It's upgradable using on-chain governance, and it's built to last. And it has got one of the amazing scaling roadmap out there that I've seen in the industry. It did pioneer proof of stake, the original one, pioneer in upgradability, and it was the pioneer and security-first approach. So about blockchains, other thing is it's also important to get familiar with this aspect, right? Because there are three layers to when you're building your game. One is your game itself, the game experience, the gameplay. Then there's got the economics part, and then also got the fundamental layer upon which you are going to build your game. And that also sometimes doesn't have to depend on the use case basis, but sometimes it also has to depend on the use case basis, right? And you have to make sure that what are your, let's say, core principles when you are building. So let's say if you really want to be the decentralized station first, or you want to, you have certain security first, then you can choose option A. If you are really into more of, I want infinite scale by compromising the decentralization or something, then you can go with option B. So it's also very important, which is a lot of people don't think about, but I would just encourage everyone, that it's also important to basically look into what is the language you're going to use, what is the blockchain that you're going to use, instead of just going with what everybody's doing, because it totally depends on the use case basis and what you're trying to give to your end user. Yeah, so that's me. Just want to share what I have observed, what I have learned. If you have any questions, I'll take them. And if you also meet me later, if you want to learn something extra or want to have a longer talk. If you have any queries, please send emails to hello@Tezos India Foundation and follow us at India Tezos. Thanks.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
open for questions.
Thank you so much. Yes, open for questions. Mike there, please.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the talk. That was really great.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding the interoperability of the games, right? Especially the economy side of it. Now, I am a firm believer of interoperability, that it is definitely going to give the players a huge advantage. But as a developer, it also is a bit more risky for us because the economy already for a blockchain game is very intricate and delicate. Now, an interoperable economy, I don't even know whether that's the right term for it, but an interoperable economy is going to be more delicate and intricate, if I'm not wrong. I might completely be wrong as well. The first question is, how different is it from the normal blockchain economy? Number two is, like, if we are going to build an interoperable game economy, do you have any first steps for it?
Okay. Some few thoughts are coming into mind that I want to share with all of you. First of all, there is a process to, let's say, technology itself, right? When you get up to a level where we are convinced that this thing works, right? Interoperability, we are talking a lot. It's a term, but still it's a very early nascent stages. I will take an example of decentralized exchanges. In 2017, a lot of people did ICOs. We are going to order book on Ethereum, right? Order book-based decentralized exchange where you put your bets and all. And that doesn't work. That doesn't scale on a blockchain, right? I guess it might scale on other blockchain who are promising unbreakable things, but it doesn't work. Then came Uniswap along with their AMM, the constant function market maker formula, right? And it somehow made it work. It took at least, I guess, 2 years until we got to that stage. Now, after Uniswap V1, we are into V2, and in V3, where the markets are more capital efficient, right? Even if you look at curve. So there is this natural curve of growth for even in blockchain itself, which is, I guess, it's going to take time. But it is important for all the projects to come, meanwhile, and try these different kind of approaches to figure out what works and what not. Coming back to interoperability, now we cannot say that, okay, we can enable interoperability between all the blockchains that are going to be there. That I have an asset on Tezos, I can seamlessly move it to Ethereum and then Polkadot, etc. Because the cross-chain bridging of NFTs it's still a tricky part. You can export the image, for example, but you cannot get the metadata right. Still work in progress in a lot of places. And you cannot even say that, okay, only this is going to work, that, okay, we are going to see a future. We are still very early. It's going to take at least 10, 15 years until we can say definitely only EVM chains is going to work, or only this chain is going to work, only this chain is going to work, only this, let's say, Cosmos is going to work, right? So how you should, one example I'll take is like this dystopia game that exists on, what they have is, there is a different game called Pixel War, and they have their characters. And you can use dot characters as robot in this game as well in your battle units, for example. So that's a kind of example of interoperability. So you can do in blockchain interoperability as of now. But right, how we are seeing in DeFi, that you can bridge your assets out of any blockchain, anywhere you want, right? That is not possible yet, right? So what I would suggest is maybe interoperability is something you can put to explore in the later stages. You can write your code or your smart contract definitely in a way. See, if you have written an ERC-720 contract, basically, if tomorrow there comes an interoperable technology, you will be able to do that, right? When people, let's say, wrote the contract for, I don't know, let's say, basic attention token, right? They didn't think about interoperability back then, but now you can bridge it from one chain to another, which still is a work in progress area, because bridges are also not entirely completely secure. We see so many hacks, right? So space itself, it's emerging, and all these experiments, all these projects, all these cool ideas have to come across. So do not be afraid of trying, experimenting, keep experimenting, and yeah, you might find the right fit. Any other question?
One more question only, please.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, Om. Thanks for the talk. I'm here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for the talk, Om. So I just wanted to ask a very specific question. It's a two-part question. Imagine I am a game developer, and I am going through this mind-boggling discussion and thought process of which chain should I move on to. Why do you think I should be choosing Tezos over any other chains? Because there's so many things. There's transaction time, fees, all these other things, uptime, everything is there. Why should I choose Tezos?
Okay.
And the second part of it, the question is that, do you have partnered with any kind of games before? If you have, then that will be good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, I can take that. The thing is, when you are choosing any blockchain, I mean, I come from, let's say, I started in this space around late 2015, early 2016. So the core fundamental still aligns that, okay, more decentralization and security focused, right? That whatever chain I'm building on, when we are trying to build all of your startup, we, usually most of the people, or at least me, we look at, okay, I'm going to keep doing this for at least next 10, 15 years. It has to, or even if I'm not doing it, it has to stay for next 10, 15 years, 100 or 1,000 years, right? For that, blockchain is essentially a piece of software. Software needs to keep upgrading, right? And there are only two ways to upgrade decentralized software as of now. One is off-chain governance, where we get in rooms like this, and I'm going to say, okay, this is the feature I want to implement. Somebody else will come from minor community, let's say, and say, this is the feature I want to implement. And we'll all sort of try to come into consensus, maybe or maybe not, using that approach. That approach doesn't work, as we have seen in history, based on how Ethereum and Ethereum Classic forked, how Bitcoin Cash forked, right? So you don't want forks. You want seamless upgrades in your software, right? If I find a bug, it should not be able to basically WhatsApp 100 people, overnight and let's say, everybody, let's upgrade the software. That's not decentralization. So I would say the decentralization first approach, if you want to take, that's where we see Tezos. And the security first approach, where it has been written in a way, we haven't seen any major hack yet, not in the blockchain side, not on the smart contract side, because it's written on the functional programming based on approach. And even if you look at, everybody knows, every Ethereum developer, every experienced developer who start coding in Solidity knows that, it has improved a lot, but in early days, it used to be a hell lot of buggy, right? So a blockchain also should essentially enable you to write secure code, right? And the third thing is also the tooling. You also have to have the tooling right, your latency. Your block explorer might go down, but the blockchain shouldn't go down, right? So these are the certain aspects if you care about it, depends upon project to project. That's where you could look into Tezos. And Tezos, has been also the least amount of carbon footprint. It pioneered the proof of stake, so essentially it consumes 1,000,000 times less energy than Ethereum transaction, even less energy than writing a tweet, right? By fundamental itself, with technology, there is no other fund for carbon offsetting. And that makes sense. That's why it has been driving a lot of NFT movement. So Red Bull, McLaren, Manchester United, a lot of big brands have, Ubisoft has even come across on board with Tezos to experiment with this technology. But just as based on your question, a little bit of shameless promotion.
All right,
But
thank
yeah.
you. Thank you
Thanks.
so much, Om.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
Round
for
of
your time.
applause for Om. Thank you. We